Hello, good evening. And tonight on Joynews Prime, as Ghana mourns Kojo Owusu-Afriyie, also known to many of us as Sir John, Majority Leader in Parliament wants the public to use the death of the Forestry Commission Chief Executive as a testimony for the existence and threat of COVID-19.
This ailment is indeed real and very devastating.
The leadership in the House yearn to smoke out people who also absent themselves from the House.
Those people were not present. Who marked them present? I think we must investigate who has been marking those absent present.
Meanwhile, Ghana's COVID-19 testing is in crisis as unavailability of reagents and other testing materials are causing delays in releasing test results.
We have about 7,000 to around 8,000 samples in there that are yet to be cleared.
And we do have some money number news. We do have the money lady right here.
Hi, Roland. Coming up in business, GIPC assures foreign projects suspended as a result of COVID-19 pandemic will resume next year. We'll hear from the CEO, Yofi Grant.
Well, we're assembling cars. We're assembling Tata cars. We're assembling Leyland motors. We were assembling VWs. We are assembling Passat, etc. in Ghana. So we had taken those steps to build them.
Later in the bulletin, for failing to comport themselves at the voter ID registration center and throwing caution to the wind in these times of COVID-19, 2 young men were picked up by the Legon police.
What's the issue? Okay, so we really want to understand what the issue is here. Some stand up between the police and...
I've watched the story. You haven't? Stay tuned for this. It's quite interesting. My name is Roland Walker. We're live in our studios right here in Kokomemle on digital address GA0992539. Also on digital terrestrial television, because we're also free to air. The bulletin is also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Make sure you stay tuned. Well, we're not in normal times, and already there have been heated calls for the ongoing voter registration exercise to be called off as concerns emerge regarding Ghana's rising COVID-19 cases. 5 more people have died from coronavirus in Ghana, and this brings the total death toll to 117. The Ghana Health Service, however, says whether the registration goes on or not, case count will rise if citizens fail to obey safety protocols. The Health Service, in a news conference addressing challenges confronting Ghana's COVID-19 battle, also had a lot to say.
It's a global scramble for them. So even sometimes when you have money, you don't always have one. But we know that by end of this weekend, we are having a consignment arriving, and so hopefully next week.
Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaji, says access to items needed to run testing facilities remain a challenge.
We have experienced some delays in the lab. That is because we have had a few logistical challenges. The laboratory requires a lot of, for PCR, reagents, prepared, all manner of things apart from that, and the test kits.
He reviewed new equipment for treatment centers have been procured.
ICU ventilators. We also have ICU mid-rib. We have about 2 of them. We have, so if you look at all the ICUs already brought in about 42 ventilators already. We have some CPAP machines, 8 of them. We have accessories, over 1,000 accessories for this ICUs. We have 100 patient monitors for the critically ill. Oxygen concentrators, we have about 475, but the additional ones that are yet to be added, that are just being delivered.
The ongoing voter registration exercise has been a source of worry for many. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah says government is concerned.
There are many places in which EC officials and security and persons who are registering are doing their best to comply with the social distancing protocols. They are doing that by pre-arranging chairs that have been distanced properly. But there are also many other areas in which it is obvious from, for example, some of the pieces of footage that you are capturing that people are not observing the social distance protocols. We want to reiterate, security, electoral commission officials, and citizens, we all have a collective responsibility to observe these protocols even as we go about this registration process.
On whether or not the exercise should be called off, Dr. Patrick Abuaji says the greatest threat to Ghana's COVID-19 fight is disregard for the safety protocols.
Whether the registration should stop. I think I've answered this question before. There are very basic principles. You need to wear your mask. You need to do social distancing. You need to wash your hands. Whether you are queuing to buy cocoa or whether you are doing anything, it's still, if you don't register, but you go and queue without your mask to buy cocoa and the cocoa seller is also not wearing one, you could still contract. So the most important thing is applying the principles. If you go there, within the area where the registration is happening, the protocols are met. The challenge is the general attitude of people outside these areas that they are not abiding by the rules. I've been there myself. I've been to a few stations to see that when you get in there, the principles, the cleaning is being done. But people get there at 6 a.m. and queue, and they wait outside, and that is where the infringement is. And so we just continue providing education for people to be able to allow that. So my advice would be that in any circumstance, whether being in the office, in a space, or apply these principles, and that will be able to suffice whatever we need to do.
He reiterated calls for persons who have taken the COVID-19 test to isolate till they receive their results.
My idea is that if there's a call to take your sample, you are supposed to isolate yourself. If there's any reason to take your sample, it means that you are potentially positive.
Meanwhile, senior research fellow at Ghana's foremost COVID-19 testing center, the Noguchi Memorial Institute for Medical Research, has revealed that the center has about 7,000 backlog of samples yet to be tested. Dr. Kofi Boni said the unavailability of reagents and other testing materials are causing delays in releasing results. Now, this also means that many individuals who are yet to know their status may unknowingly be spreading the virus before their results are even ready. Speaking to Daniel Datsi on The Pulse, Dr. Boni is, however, hopeful that the backlogs would be cleared in 2 weeks when Ghana finally receives a consignment of testing materials.
Even if you have money now, it takes some time for you to get the needed reagents and consumables that you need. It's worldwide, people are all scrambling for these same reagents and consumables. So it takes some time for them to come in. We've been assured that in the next week or so, some will come in. So basically, that is what it is. It's not that Ghana Health Service is not. I think they have made orders, procurement, but we are yet to receive them. And if we promise that maybe next week, or from next week, some of them will come in. So we are waiting for them. We cannot we are still receiving in the range of 2,500 to around 3,500 samples on a daily basis. It's like a processing chain. We running the samples or processing from the initial stages is easy to do. We can just work on them to a stage where we call the extraction and the PCR stage. That is where we'll get a backlog because we can work on all the samples. You come to our cold rooms, you will not see physical samples there, but you still have backlogs because some of the stages we cannot push it forward anymore because we are either the machines that we have, there are 4 for Noguchi. We are running them 24/7. but we have a lot to put in there because other labs have brought theirs. So though we have cleared what we call the physical samples as backlog, we now have backlogs within stages of our processing unit. So we have backlog between extraction and PCR. And that's why we are trying to get them cleared, because of the numbers that we are getting in. We have about 7,000 to around 8,000 samples in there that are yet to be cleared.
Over which. Moving on, the Accra Metropolitan Assembly has also buried 4 people today who died of coronavirus. Joseph Asitanga is an environmental health worker with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. He will be joining us subsequently. We'll take an important look at this and get to know what the numbers are. But before then, we have to go to Dr. Michael Owusu, who is a regular contributor on programming on the Joynews channel. And he is a virologist with the KCCR, and the KCCR stands for the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research. Now, good evening to you, Dr. Michael Owusu. It's important that we have you right here. The concerns that have been raised across the board, especially by Dr. Bonnie from Noguchi, also means that we're in for some serious shake-up or trouble. Is that how, as a virologist, you also have observed the situation?
Yeah, good evening to you, and good evening to all your viewers. I don't think we are in for a shake-up or trouble. I think that we may have this difficulty for a short period of time, but then it's possible in the coming weeks we may get the necessary reagents to enable us test as much as we can. I mean, the point is that because of the changing dynamism of the virus spread and the increasing transmission rates, there seems to be huge demand on testing, which will mean that more logistics is being demanded across board for the different testing sites. And of course, when you put in requests for these logistics, it takes quite some time, and we don't manufacture them in Ghana. And most of us either import from Europe or in Asia or America. In America and Europe, some have placed embargoes on export of their kits to Africa. The Chinese are quite liberal, and therefore most of our kit that we are using seem to come from China. Even for them, there's a huge demand for this in North Africa, and especially in South Africa, where they are recording quite a significant and huge number of cases. So we are all competing for the same market sources for these reagents and these test kits. So as the cases increase and the demand for testing increase, we may run into this difficulty. But I think that this will be for a short time, because I'm aware that the government has placed a request for this, and it's possible in the coming weeks we may get some more reagents to enable the different sites to begin testing.
Now, you just stay on the streams and then let me get onto the phone lines and speak to Mr. Joseph Asitanga. He is with the Environmental Health Department of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. I know that you supervise the burial of at least 4 patients of COVID-19, or 4 people who died from COVID-19 related illnesses. Have we had increment in the numbers based on the burial rates you've had over the last week or 2, or even this month?
Have we had increment in the numbers week or 2, or even this month?
Good evening. Good evening to your listeners.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay?
Right. Please, you can go ahead and respond to the question.
Yeah, good evening to your listeners and good evening to everybody. COVID-19 has come to beset us into a trouble of challenge. We are all trying and struggling to come out with it. The death rate and the burials that we are undertaking, a lot of the burials are yet to continue. And every day, the timetable withdrawn for the burial per week is supposed to have been twice a week. But the work has been so tedious that I have to devise a method of, we reduce it to 1 day burial in a week. But we have emergency burial. Sometimes when we come to our brother and sister Muslims, whose bodies are not to stay a day or two, we have to call emergency burial to take care of such bodies. So the numbers are there. The death rate is there. It's in numbers. If you go visit the mosques that we take, we have them there. All the mosques that we go, Ridge, 37, Kolibu, East, the numbers are there.
Okay.
So to give a specific number, I've not gone for that data that I can be sure.
Yeah, because on the national data, we're told that we have 117 deaths so far, unless perhaps you have more numbers to bury.
Yes, we have more numbers to bury, and if that is the national rate they have given out, that is what the results has confirmed. That they have all died of COVID, but we have others who are also have passed on, and they are waiting on their results to come to confirm that they have also passed on through the COVID.
Okay, let me ask you this question before I get to Dr. Michael Owusu. The burials that you have been supervising, are they only related to COVID, or you supervise other burials?
Yes, no. We are in charge of all the public cemeteries. The environmental health department is responsible for managing all the public cemeteries. And for that matter, within the public cemetery, we have earmarked a particular area specifically for the burial of infectious disease that might have resulted the cause of your death. So if you die out of an infectious disease, it becomes the responsibility of the environmental health officer to handle safely, bury you safely at the infectious zone.
Do you have? I see pictures of your personnel taking a body to go and bury, and yes. But the question then will be: do you have every PPE available for you?
As for PPEs, we have been provided enough of that of the PPEs for responsible for the burials.
Okay.
We are okay with PPEs for the burials. We still need more, but what we have now can contain what we are doing now.
All right. Just hold on for me. Let me ask a question or two. Dr. Michael Owusu, if you look at the outstandings or the backlog of samples that need to be tested, it's in excess of 7,000. Now, the period when you get results, according to what the experts have told us, your colleagues, is also getting longer because of these backlogs. What happens to those people whose samples have been taken and ultimately may test positive, and they live in the communities?
Well, it's a challenge, which is why we always keep advising people to adhere to the protocols. Because as for now, whoever is around you, whether it's your friend or your colleague, consider the person as being positive for COVID and put on your mask and practice social distancing so you keep yourself safe. So if you don't do this, then of course you put your lives at risk and also put the lives of your family or your colleague, friends, your wives and children also at risk. So we hope that when we get more reagents, we'll be able to further go back and process these samples as quickly as possible. I hope this will be just for a short time because these reagents have been procured, but maybe it's delaying. But as if your sample is collected and you're waiting to be tested, you don't just have to do anything. Put on your mask and just remain safe so that if it comes and you're positive, and if somebody is around you, you don't infect the person, and whoever is around you also doesn't get himself infected. It's a difficulty we have to go through, and this is some of the things that comes with us. And it's not only Ghana, but in many countries that have gone through these phases of COVID, they also in the accelerating phase when you have increasing number of people who are infected, especially when you have a huge number of asymptomatics. Right. These are things that occasionally happen, and you have to find ways and means of dealing with it. And for me, once you are adhering to the protocols, you have a chance of at least not becoming infected or for protecting others from becoming infected.
Well, thank you very much. And Dr. Michael Owusu is with the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research. We'll be joining me and Mama Vioso tomorrow on the AM show right here on the channel. Make sure you join us then. It will be from 6 to 9 Great show it is. So too is this. As we continue, as parliamentarians eulogize the late MPP General Secretary Kojo Usuefri, also known to many of us as Sir John, we also take a look at who he was. Majority Leader wants the public to use the death of the Forestry Commission Chief Executive as a testimony for the existence and threat of COVID-19. Now, in a brief statement, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, also admonished politicians to be more tolerant of each other and also learn from Sir John and the NDC, Sesiedun Ketier's good relationship.
The good thing about the departed gentleman is his wonderful relationship with Honorable Sesiedun Ketier. And they were very, very vocal in their days as Secretary Generals. But very good friends. In fact, when one's mother died, the other went and spent days with him in mourning. And their relationship should be an example that we should not be fighting or hating each other, because we belong to different political persuasion. Sometimes even our own internal fights show a lot of hostility, and we don't need it. So don't we need it on the national plane? That is worthy to say about him and his colleague, Honorable Sesiedun Ketier. And may these examples continue to inspire the political hemisphere to good conduct. May you rest in peace. Shall we have a moment's silence?
The Minority Leader, Harun Idrisu, also extended his condolences to the MPP and the family of the late outspoken politician.
Speaker, I extend to the family profound sympathies and condolences, and to the new Patriotic Party. Mr. Speaker, his sudden departure is taking away from Ghanaian politics his high sense of humor, always accompanied with a smile, even as he jabbed. Mr. Speaker, he would forever be remembered when he lost the primaries to Hobna Japan. He's noted to have said that fewer delegates. I'm sure many of our colleagues here will now appreciate Kojo, or also appreciate the better, to fear delegates. And indeed they are to be feared. They assure you even to the ballot box, and they behave otherwise. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure we'll have time to eulogize him and his contribution to the public service of Ghana as Deputy Chief Executive of the DMPC responsible for legal services, Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, and General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. So do accept our sympathies and condolences. Thank you.
And for someone who didn't face delegates during the recent MPP primaries, the Majority Leader wants the public to use the death of the Forestry Commission Chief Executive as a testimony for the existence and threat of COVID-19.
Affable personality who really positively affected everyone that he came into contact with. So hearing his sudden transition, I was shell-shocked. And I believe the entire nation, political activists and social commentators, whoever, person who was committed to his duties, applied diligence, body and soul to every assignment that was given to him. But Mr. Speaker, on this occasion, I think it's important to remind all of us that this ailment is indeed real and very devastating. I believe that what the transition of Usuefri signifies should urge us everyone to be very conscious of our existence and the fact of the rampaging effect of COVID-19. Speaker, I think it's appropriate and proper for all of us at this stage to pray that for the protection of the government of this country, for the protection of the judiciary.
President Kufuor also sent messages of condolences to the family of the late Kojo Usue Sir John, and he put that in a statement. He reads that he had received the news of the death of Kojo Usue aka Sir John, with great loss and deep sadness. Indeed, the statement continued that the disbelief and grief expressed by many of the news of his death are testimony to how people in and out of the New Patriotic Party felt about him. Passionate devotee of the Dankwa Dombo Busia political tradition, outstanding stalwart of the MPP, a strong defender of human rights as a lawyer, proud, faithful adherent of the Christian Adventist faith. And these were the multifaceted aspects of the career and character of Sir John, which earned him considerable and renowned praises, both as while General Secretary of the MPP and the CEO of the Forestry Commission. The statement continues that energetic, jovial, with an exceptional sense of humor and possessing a limitless store of folktales and proverbs, he affected positively every person with whom he came into contact with. The president added he was truly unforgettable, and the party and government owe him an immense debt for his work and commitment. And he ended this way: my wife, Rebecca, and I extend our deepest condolences to his entire family. May so rest in peace. But look, we have more. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll take you to the home state or town of the late Sir John. Ohiminteria was there this morning. Sakra Wunu has lost a very son.
Begrudge them because he has positively impacted on the lives of the people.
I've been to my home.
Well, the TV Entrepreneur of the Year is right here. She's going to talk about the real news.
Where is that title from? Where is that title?
Yeah, because you're an entrepreneur on TV. You speak to real entrepreneurs in the real world. Yeah, tell us what you have. What do you have?
I've got an exciting evening, Roland. I must say, someone I had built to speak to on our segment just lost a very good friend and a doctor to COVID-19. So it's not an exciting evening. This thing is real and getting out of hand, Roland.
Wow, wow. Yeah, it's as close as we can ever seem to imagine, because once you know that you're recording cases with friends and then colleagues around, you know that you're not in normal times.
Exactly. And Dr. Akparibu, we want to say our condolences to you. We are sorry for the loss. But hey, life goes on. Let's do business. My name is Sandra Esenam Apeno, and Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, UOFI Grant, has revealed all major foreign projects suspended will resume next year. Some foreign direct investment projects, including assembling of vehicles by automobile giants, have been suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, Mr. Grant, who has been speaking on investment during this pandemic.
In every economy, you'd like to also build your own, using your own. And so you'd realize that for a lot of developed countries, savings is a very important component of the financing mix in the economy. But we have a very low savings rate. In fact, our savings rate is much lower than even the regional average. And so we need to understand the impact of investment on the economy. Now, investment may be from inside, if we have built the capital for it, or from outside. And our history, if you look through our economic history, right from the days of Kwame Nkrumah, it was mainly statism, the state. built up the infrastructure and economic infrastructure, built the factories, built the offices. The state controlled everything because, of course, we had just come out of colonialism, and then we were not very happy of being dominated by anybody. And then after that, the ideological experimentation changed a bit. So we had a period where we went back into energizing private sector, and that's when we saw what could potentially have been Ghanaian magnates come on stream in the economy. So you had FK Poku, you have Kowus Motors, you had quite a number of big players in the market, you know, and they built industries. They actually were assembling cars. We were assembling Tata cars, we were assembling Leyland Motors, we were assembling VWs, we were assembling Passat, etc. in Ghana. So we had taken those steps to build them. And then, of course, in the poor political experimentation or ideological experimentation, all those were wiped away. We had Tata breweries. We have a Ghanaian indigenous company. We had BMSA doing cigarettes, manufacturing cigarettes in Ghana. So it's not like we've not been there before. We understand it, that we can use our own to build our own. And had they kept on and been allowed to flourish, I bet that would have probably had some billionaires by now in Ghana who could now have been investing in other countries in the sub-region.
Certainly, there will be more on investments and COVID-19 on PM Express Business Edition on Joynews channel, and also on channel 421 on DSTV. George Riafe will be hosting Mr. Yofi Grant at 9 p.m. tonight, so do make a date. Away from that, poor drying and high moisture content are said to be responsible for high post-harvest losses in Ghana. A 2017 statistic has shown that at least 30% of farm produce, estimated at $700,000, is lost annually through post-harvest losses. Here is a report by Prince Appiah.
24-year-old Emmanuel Ofori is a maize farmer whose 4-acre land is due for harvesting. He cultivates yellow corn because of its high demand and prices in recent times. With this farm, I will harvest, dry them well, and store until maize is scarce on the market. Then I sell them. Now, a bucket is 25 cedis, but I will wait and sell at 30 cedis in the lean season.
Now, the back 25.
The biggest headache, perhaps for Emmanuel and other farmers in Ghana, arise after harvesting, that's the drying and storage. Large quantities of farm produce goes bad when these are poorly handled, depending on the weather, leaving the farmer with little for only subsistence after all the sweat and toil. Statistics show at least 30% of farm produce in Ghana goes waste annually. Senior lecturer at the Department of Agricultural Engineering, Joseph Opon Akowa, explains why it is so.
These moisture content is the amount of water in the produce. At harvest, it is about 25 thereabouts. And so what it means is that because the water is in the maize, you cannot keep it for a long time, so you have to dry it. And so we can talk about drying losses. So you're not able to dry it effectively, so you cannot store this produce for a long time. So one has to do with lack of technology. In this sense, you are talking about drying, facilities.
And that report was filed by Prince Appiah, and it's actually received a special recognition by the IF-AJ Star Prize for broadcast. Prince, congratulations to you and keep up the good work. Prince is our Joynews correspondent in the Ashanti region. Away to another good news, computer engineer Joe Harry Kumsin is 20,000 cedis richer. Is the winner of the NLA's latest premier lottery. And then he actually won something good. So Bismarck Awusa has more in this report.
A Tema-based computer engineer has emerged the 26th winner of Ghana's Premier Lottery 787 weekly draw. The lucky winner takes home a whopping 20,000 cedis cash. Joe Harry Compson, who received the cash, in addition to his 30 cedis mobile wallet credit, was filled with joy. He tells Joy Business how surprised he was to receive a text from the company confirming him as the winner. I was in town when I received a call that I had won, but I didn't believe it. I later on received a text message confirming same, so we agreed on a date for collection. I want to assure those who are skeptical about the game that it is real, hence they should feel free to participate. I'm thankful to the NLA for this game. It has really helped me. Head of Customer Experience, Richard Akotobanfo, at the presentation of the prize check to the winner, admonished Ghanaians who do not believe in lottery to give it a try because the rewards are real.
20,000 Ghana cedis ayehune wasanya ho akonya Saturday no SND 30 Ghana.
He won 20,000 cedis and he had earlier won 30 cedis last Saturday, which was paid into his mobile wallet.
2,000 Ghana cedis. No, we don't pay through mobile wallet, so we do the reward to you in person. Now star 787 hash are very simple.
Star 787 hash is a simple game. You only need to dial it and follow the prompts. A ticket costs only 5 cedis. Basically, we run special Tuesday and special Thursday draws. With special Tuesday, we reward 25 people with 200 cedis each, and for special Thursday, we reward 3 winners with 1,000 cedis each.
Jackpot in here, this is the biggest jackpot ever to hit Ghana. 208,500 Ghana cedis, and someone could take home this big money. It could be yours. The only phone, so star 787 hash. Just purchase a ticket and then stand a chance towards win this big jackpot.
So Harry Compson actually won the 3-year 787 weekly lottery. And over to you, Roland. That will be all for the first part of business. And I wanted to find out from you what 20,000 cedis would do to you at this crucial time.
20,000. Well, I don't know. I'll give it to Becky.
Too small, eh? Is that too small for you?
I'll give it to Becky. Yes. Becky and I will set up a business with it, I'm sure.
Yeah. You can invest in my business.
Well, okay, that'd be great. Yeah, FM's Flora.
Yeah, doing free advertisement on Joynews. I mean, Elvis is watching.
Right, no, right, all right. Oh, we'll set up a COVID-19 fund. A lot of.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, definitely. Well, I do have the entertainment lady here. Becky, what do you have for us?
I thought we were going to do sports before me, but it's okay. Yeah. Let's talk about Joy Prime Presents. It's something that Joy Prime is doing. They're celebrating musicians in the country. First, it was Wendy Shea. This Sunday, we have Akwabwa.
Wow.
Yes, so he's been speaking to us.
Well, so we'll look at all that, including sports, next.
Joy Prime. Joy Prime presents Akwabwa. Yeah, on Sunday, we're all expecting Akwabwa to perform I Do Love You.
Yeah. Work it out.
Akwabwa. Close to me.
Adore your way, post to me.
Hey, Roliro. So another person that we've been, Benner Boy, it's his birthday today.
Oh, today.
It's been celebrated across the world. And today he is on Spotlight. Wonderful.
Yeah, and Benner Boy has one with Two-Face. He used to be called Two-Face. Now he's called Tubaba. And it's called We Must Groove. Very beautiful song. You should go look out for it. Welcome back. Moving on, the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, wants the members of Parliament and officials of the House who sign attendance registered for absentee members of Parliament to immediately desist from that action or incur his sanctions at the opening of sitting today. Some members of Parliament, including the Akimoda Member of Parliament, William Ejapon Kwetu, and New Drabing South MP, Dr. Mark Sibeyeboa, question why the official report on attendance for Wednesday captured some 106 members of Parliament when the numbers in the chamber were less. Now, following these concerns, the Speaker then directed the clerk to immediately facilitate the installation of a clocking machine to also check the attendance of MPs who attend to the business of the House.
Empty Parliament on Wednesday, 1st July 2020, but 106 names of MPs were captured as present. Some MPs question why some of their colleagues who were absent were marked present.
Because they are notoriously absent often. But the real issue is who has been marking those absent present. Is it the table office? Because indeed, every member has to sign in to show that he or she is present. It's somebody signing in on their behalf. If that is happening, those persons are the ones we must look out for. Because, and the table office often sends people around, those who don't go in to sign, they bring their register for you to sign. So if indeed those people were not present, who marked them present? I think we must investigate who has been marking those absent present, because that is the bigger issue I think we should pay attention to.
Page 3, name number 98, read the figure, George Kweku. He is marked as being present, and I'm saying that to the Speaker for a very long time. You don't see this house. Yes, he was here in this house. He was in the chamber, but he's marked present.
He is marked
present. Repeat. Figure, George Kweku.
Was absent.
Yes. You have been absent for a very long time. You don't see him here in the chamber. Yesterday, I didn't see him in the chamber. You are here.
Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, warned MPs and officials of Parliament who signed in attendance registers for absentee MPs to immediately desist or incur his sanctions.
If there are any persons signing in for people who are not present, please, this will be your last warning, because in the near future, you will be subject to very serious disciplinary action.
To stem this development, the Speaker directed the clerk office to immediately install clocking in machine.
We all know that we've had difficulties with this issue of attendance. We all know that we've placed orders for machines for that purpose. Mr. Clerk and the administration, I charge that you must facilitate the arrival of these machines for our purposes.
But until the clocking in machine is installed, some honorable members of the House will continue to beat the system.
Well, we have to ask the relevant questions. Why do we keep having members of Parliament absenting themselves from the business of the House? And we have to go speak to Nehemiah Tiga. He works with think tank Odikro. They have been undertaking a number of observations, surveys, and doing publications on Parliament, its effectiveness, and why absenteeism becomes a bane in the House. Now, thank you for joining me, Mr. Tiga. This time around, what's the excuse? Why do we keep having this as a phenomenon?
Well, I mean, I think that our members of Parliament do not see the critical function they play in our governance. Because if you understand that you play a very critical role in our governance in terms of representing your people and participating in debates and also keeping oversight over the executive, you would not stay away from something that It's your core mandate. You've been elected to represent the people. Now, as for the excuses, I find it, we find it strange because the simple rule is that if you are going to absent yourself, it has to be with permission. Now, if you are not absenting, if you are not doing that, and you are now trying to game the system by making people mark you present, then you don't even deserve to be there to represent your people, because you are actually pretending to represent the people who have voted you to go and represent them. And I also feel this issue has come up so many times, and the speaker has either threatened or huffed and puffed, and nothing has really happened. In fact, if you put in clocking systems and I come in and I clock in and I leave, I'm present, right?
Yeah.
So it goes back to us trying to not really solve this problem when the Constitution gives us a certain power to actually bring members of parliament to book and say that, you know what, privileges committee, make sure that they are providing a reasonable reason. Even that, what is reasonable? So they may, again, the committee has discretionary powers, and I'm sure them being friends may also decide to let them.
We know that there are supposed to be punitive sanctions or measures to be undertaken. Why is it that we've not had the leadership of Parliament, indeed the leadership of the House, the Speaker, the office of the clerk, take some of those sanctions as deterrent?
So, well, Article 97 Clause 1C says that if you miss 15 consecutive sittings, the Privileges Committee would need to speak to you and get reasonable explanation from you. Now, the speakers usually are politically appointed, and so think about it. If I'm from the MPP and MPs from my side are being truant, am I going to get them to lose their seat and then reduce our power in Parliament? It won't happen. And so you realize that every speaker that has come does not really have political will to see the rule through. And even the previous Parliament, where the sixth Parliament, where there were times they didn't have a quorum to discuss very important bills. And during our efforts to issue our reports, you find some leadership telling us not to, because it will change the fortunes of members of Parliament. So it looks like people rather want to hold on to the title or the power of being a member of Parliament than actually getting in the House to do what they have to do.
Yeah. Now, we have to come to the end of this conversation, but before this, we're going to see more of them not sitting. We've just had a primary of the ruling MPP, 41 members of Parliament straight away losing their seats. There's going to be that lethargy and ultimately that impassiveness towards what needs to be proceedings of the House. Critical before the end of the year, right?
Yes, but until your term of office, you must be responsible. Imagine going to the hospital and the doctor coming to sign in and leaving. Who is going to take care of you? Imagine sending your child to school and the teacher coming to sign in and leaving, or even not showing up at all and having a colleague sign in for. This is where we are right now. You have lost the primaries, but it's not the end of your term. You need to be present at all times to ensure that you are doing what is expected of you, because eventually you may want to come back and these records will be there, and the people will judge you based on what you did before your next efforts to be voted again. So if you do not do what is required of you, the people know. And Ghanaians are becoming more sophisticated. They are becoming more interested in what is going on, and the data is available for people to know. So if you think that you are playing smart, eventually it will catch up with you. I mean, Odiko has people. We have people in Parliament every day. We have pictorial evidence. So those who think that they are gaming the system, when the time comes, we'll know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But that is Nehemiah Atiga. Have you registered already?
Not yet.
No, you're playing truancy. You don't want to go,
no,
or you're afraid of COVID.
No. I'm sure the people who live around where I live will be responsible enough to not to break the protocols. I'll definitely register before.
Right. If you register, where will your constituency be?
Tema West.
Ah, great. I think you and I just live at Ajekwejo, so maybe perhaps we can have some.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And talking about elections and registration, the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, this afternoon paid an unannounced visit to 5 voter registration centers, all in the Greater Accra region. Now, the tour took him to the Kanda Class of Schools Registration Center in the Ayawaso East constituency, Abose Kain Presby Registration Center in Ablekuma Central, Ebenezer Funeral Parlor 1 and 2 registration centers, all in Wejagbawe, Teshi Aboma Presby Church Center, also in Lejokuku, and the Super Service Registration Center in Koliklote. The president interacted with the registration officials at each of these 5 centers who walk him through the processes of registering an eligible voter. Here's a report of the president's tour.
This is the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, about town, mobbed by cheerful supporters excited to see the first man of the land. It's day 3 of the voter registration exercise, and the president wanted to see for himself how the registration that had been held up in months of controversy was going after it finally took off on Tuesday.
When they come the queue, when it is your time, then the safety protocol, you wash your hands. We have tissue, we have sanitizer. Then you come to the registration officer. As stipulated by CI 126, your requirements, a Ghana card or a passport. In the absence of a Ghana card or a passport, you have 2 people who have already registered to guarantee on your behalf.
And people are registered.
Here he is with the EC official at one of the polling stations inside the Koliklote constituency.
This is where people come to sit so that they observe the social distancing protocol. So that from there they come to wash their hands. And we have a nurse here, a community nurse, that's checking their temperature and letting them adhere to the protocols. Then they will register. Start off here. Yes. Okay. So that's the registration point where you take your personal details. Then when you are done, if you're having any valid means of identification, that's the passport, a valid passport, and also a Ghana card, that's the ECOWAS card. So when you don't have those 2, we make sure you have 2 guarantors that will vouch for you. People, which are they using the Ghana card? Yes, they are using a lot of them. We are having more of Ghana card as compared to the passport. Okay. Because lots of Ghanaians are having the Ghana card. Okay. Yes. What about the guarantee form? The guarantee, we are having a lot of them because most of them are yet to receive their Ghana card due to 1 or 2 reasons.
It was a busy day for the president. The visits were unannounced. Some of the places he made stops were Ayawaso East, Ablekuma Central, Wejagbawe, and Lejokuku. Visibly encouraged by the process, the president urged the registration officials to continue to adhere to safety protocols outlined to ensure the safety of all persons who visit the centers.
And we have to take you to another registration center, and we all do know that the Ghana Health Survey has been drumming home special distancing protocols to be observed, but people who are supposed to do that just don't. 2 people, voter ID card applicant at the University of Ghana Mensa Sabo Hall, threw caution to the wind, I tell you, and locked up by the police in a scuffle because of all these flouting of regulations. Now, the Legon police separated the fight and then arrested the 2 subsequently. Maxwell Agbagba reports that the drama surrounding the fight itself was based on an allegation of persons using unauthorized means to access the registration center in the first place.
Happening right here at the University of Ghana Mensa Sabo Hall Registration Center. What is happening is that this gentleman has just been picked up by the police. He's been taken away. There are some disagreements with none of the police officers have picked him up. There's some disagreements here at the University of Ghana Mensa Sabo Hall Registration Center. These police officers from the Legon police station are trying to pick up the gentleman to the police station, but the men here disagree. They are pulling him away. We really want to understand what the issue is here at the University of Ghana. What's the issue? What's the issue? Okay, so we really want to understand what the issue is here. Some stand up between the police and some of the people here. You are beating me. It's the University of Ghana Mensa Sabah Hall Registration Center. There was a disagreement in there. Let's try and get some word from him. Chief, what's the issue? What's the issue?
Oh, Pimaza.
What's the issue?
That's the issue as a policeman. Ask him.
No, what happened, sir?
Hey, man, quiet. Oh, quiet.
It's part of it. Okay, so what's your name?
My name is Pius Beidou.
Pius, what happened?
Yeah, I think the issue has to be with the fact that the EC is, doing the cards inside the Christian Redeemer movement, not outside where everybody will see. That has been the bone of contention. I think this morning when I came, I've received complaints from both party agents that, if possible, they have to bring the machine outside so that everybody will see it. Here at the first polling station, that is the arrangement. The machine is outside. Once you are in the queue, you will see that after you fill your form, they will take care of you, they will take your picture and everything.
Jerry what?
I'm a film Jerry.
Okay.
I'm an observer. A film Jerry.
Yes.
They will fill the forms and everything for you over here. You have to walk all the way here to go and take the picture. Why? This place, you went there. They had two different machines and they are working over there comfortably. Now, why is it that, what is their interest that they put the machine inside there and they've opened the back door? So people, why there have been agitations and all that is that people are saying that people actually snitched in there to go and do registration. That is all. They are accusing the EC that they have been snatching people through the back door to go and do the registration. That is so. Why don't they bring the machine to come and capture the people about it? It's simple.
Well, we have to take you to Ashanti region, and this town is called Sakrawuno. It's a town in the Kwabre district. Registration is taking place there, but this time that's not the reason why we went there, because the town has been thrown into a state of mourning following the death of the chief executive of the Forestry Commission, Sir John, also known in private life as Kwejo Osuefriye, described as an illustrious son of the town. Residents, both young and old, broke down into tears uncontrollably.
Uno, a small farming community is going through a dark moment. Close and distant relatives, as well as other residents, are also mourning Sir John's death. One cannot begrudge them because he has positively impacted on the lives of the people.
I've been to my village, Uno, for the forestry week, and we were there. And when we went there, we have seen the pegging that has been done. People, they have already planted. So it demonstrates to us that people indeed mean to work. And we have lessons of the previous years to guide us not to fail this time. And I'm determined not to fail.
Mr. Osuefriye was known for projecting Sakrawuno to the rest of the world. The people cite employment for the youth, provision of street light and construction of road and teachers' quarters, among others. Like the immediate family, they are all shocked by news of the death of their beloved and illustrious son.
This community have not less than 40 people who are benefiting from the youth and afforestation program. Not only in this community, but I can tell the whole Ghana, everybody is benefiting from the youth and afforestation program. I'll miss him much because he has helped me a lot. When I completed the university after my national service, I called him and he talked to me that I should come to his office. He offered me a job. And through that, he offered me a job. And he stationed me at Kumawu Forest District. He don't look down on poor and rich people. He welcomes everybody.
Had it not been Mr. Osuefriye's intervention, what would have happened to you and some of your other colleagues who were probably in a similar condition?
That one I can't tell, because unless God intervention.
Mr. Osuefriye was last seen in the town for a family meeting to discuss funeral arrangements for his late aunt and sister. He fixed the funeral for the two on August 27. But he didn't live to execute the event.
The family received the news with great shock. We least expected this bad news because our uncle was hale and healthy. We never heard of any sickness. We never heard of anything as such. And then all of a sudden, last night, we heard of his death. It was a great shock to the family and to the entire Sakrawundo community.
What was the last time the family met with Mr. Kojo Osu Efriye?
Oh, we met here approximately 3 weeks ago when we came here for us to plan about the death of her mother and her elder sister, who are, as I speak with you currently, are all in the mortuary. The family sat here and then we decided that we are going to have their funeral on the 27th of August. And lo and behold, here we are mourning the person who fixed the date and who is going to bury the mother, and the sister has also joined them to be buried. Mr. Kojo Osu Efriye have written his name in gold because he's very affable, his sense of humor, also his generosity cannot be described. Anybody that comes to him, he opened his arms to everybody. When he became the CEO of Forestry Commission, a lot of the youth have gained employment under the Forestry Commission through the afforestation program, and also people who are in school, training colleges, university, he paid a lot of their school fees. And even those who cannot get food, whenever he is around and you go to him, he will give you something so that you and your family will not go to bed on an empty stomach.
The family says it is in a fix over the funeral of the two relatives. And now, Mr. Osu Efriye's. Another, Koku Owarebuatin, echoes sentiments of the family.
Arranged for the funeral of the mother and the sister to be held on the 28th of August. He is going to organize everything. And now, here we are. He is also gone. So I do not know whether it will come on or not with his demise. I cannot know whether he will be around. That is, if there should be another organization to arrange for the three, you see, from the same house, from the same family, from the same stock. And that is what we see about Sejon. The one that was arranged 3 years ago, I believe that one should come on. But with the sudden breaking news about Sejon, I believe that we have to reorganize the entire thing so that the three of them could be combined.
From Sakrawundo for Joynews, Ohimi Tibia reporting.
Meanwhile, former National Youth Organizer of the NPP and Deputy Roads Minister Anthony Abeyi-Fakabu says the NPP will win the 2020 elections to honor the memory of Kojo Osu Efriye, also known as Sejon. Now, the Laura MP says that Charles Redu have been recounting how it felt like working with him. Maxwell Gbagba visited the Forestry Commission where Sejon was CEO, and our reports.
2 flags here at the Forestry Commission are flying at half-mast, signifying the death of the man affectionately called Sejon. Well, where I'm standing is his usual parking spot just behind me, where you have the red bandana fixed, to the gate. That is where he usually parks his car. But today, that spot is empty. The only person you can see there is the security man here. Now, behind me, right at the top, that is where his office is, and this is where Sejon would usually sit on a normal day to facilitate the work here at the Forestry Commission. But today, that office is empty. All the people who have been walking in here to the Forestry Commission today, many of them are in mourning clothes. Some of them I spoke to earlier told me that they heard the news on their various WhatsApp platforms, work-related WhatsApp platforms. A gentleman who I spoke to earlier told me that he slept very early yesterday. So this morning, sometime around 5 a.m., he took his phone to check his WhatsApp, group, work-related WhatsApp groups, and that was where he saw the news about the death of the chief executive officer, his own boss. A lot of the trees here, the lamppost here, faced with a red band signifying the grief here currently. Authorities here and the workers here would not speak to us. They say they are waiting to officially hear from the family before they can grant any interviews. A lot of the workers are also dumbfounded. A cloud of grief hangs around this place. Kojo Owusu-Efriye, popularly known as Sir John, made incalculable contributions to the new patriotic party. Two people who worked closely with him have been eulogizing him. Anthony Abbey-Fakabo says it's irreplaceable.
This is a man who dedicated, over 30 years of his life to virtually working to see this party in power. And he's a people's man. I mean, all the good things that are supposed to be said about Sir John, in fact, that was public. That's his lifestyle. I mean, we will remember him for some of the very interesting comments that he will make, his understanding of grassroots politics, and he was actually the champion of the ordinary people on the street. We've really lost a soldier. We've really lost a man who was going to actually inspire most of us, as we prepared for the 2020 election. He was heartbeat that, surely his friend, his compatriot, Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, will win the elections, hands down. And we've lost such a great guy. I mean, it's so difficult to accept that we do not have him anymore. And at Forestry Commission, I just went to him a few weeks before the primaries. And we had issues, he had to deal with them, he dealt with them, he walked me through his office, went down to his secretary, saw me to his car, to my car before I left. This is the type of man we're talking about. The MPP has really lost an irreplaceable material. We can't imagine that we don't have Sir John going into this major battle for us, but we will win this battle for him. We'll surely win this election for him.
Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister and former International Affairs Director of the NPP, Charles Uredu, has also been eulogizing Sir John.
New Patriotic Party. I've had that personal experience, working with Sir John. I was the Director of International Affairs when Sir John was the General Secretary of the party. And as his right-hand man, in terms of dealing with our external branches, also in terms of being the main point of call, when it comes to our relations with diplomatic community. I had that, constant interaction with him, and he was a very kind person, kind at heart, ready to help, and it's a big loss. It's a big. When I got the news yesterday that this has happened, I was wow. Somebody who really believed in the party, somebody who was ready to help party people. When he was appointed the CEO of the Forestry Commission, anytime I visited him, you saw scores of party people, who were ready to be assisted by him. And he didn't, discriminate. He helped the MPP people, even those in the NDC, he helped some. I think that is a great loss to the party. Sir John is irreplaceable.
Well, we have to do business, and we'll bring you all the latest when it comes to business, because Sandra will be in for the second part. Sandra?
Yes, Roland, we're doing something on the aviation industry. More airlines are opening up and more travels in the air. What does this really mean? Are you safe? We'll have a conversation on that. Well, welcome back to the second part of business. Now, the aviation industry is undoubtedly one of the hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. Since the outbreak, over 16,000 passengers were grounded, leaving the skies virtually empty. There's some sort of good news now, because air travel is gradually bouncing back as more and more countries are easing their travel restrictions. But the question is, when will the sector fully recover, and how safe are you on these flights and on board, as the global coronavirus case count currently stands about 10 million plus, and then also death toll around 517,000 plus? That's the conversation we will be having tonight with someone who knows a lot about the industry, Kojo Opon, CEO of Stallion Aviation, who is connected via Zoom. Thanks so much for your time, Kojo.
Yes, thank you, Sandra. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. So definitely we'll come back to you for the conversation, but I want to take you through some list of countries that are opening up gradually. And so far, we know that the EU agrees to reopen borders to 14 countries. And let me take you through the list of countries that they've opened their borders. We have Algeria, Australia, Canada, Georgia, Japan, Montenegro, Morocco, New Zealand, Rwanda, Serbia. We also have South Korea, Thailand, Tunisia, Uruguay, and then China. And we understand that China is subject to confirmation of reciprocity, and then also when you move on, we have some Caribbean islands like Jamaica, who have already opened their doors to foreign visitors. Mexico and Thailand are also planning to reopen region by region in the coming weeks. And then restrictions in Africa. Perhaps when we started recording a lot of cases on the continent, 36 countries closed their borders to international travels. 8 suspended flights from countries with high COVID-19 transmissions, and others had partial or no restrictions at all. Now we understand that a lot of them are coming back. And then, so how many of them have resumed so far? We know Cameroon has reopened their borders. Yeah. Equatorial Guinea has also reopened. We have Tanzania and then Zambia as well. So by July 21, we understand that 15 ECOWAS member states are expected to open their airspaces. So that's by way of where we are now, opening up the sky. So coming back to you, Kojo, on Zoom. Thanks once again. So with the global case count now about 10 million and death toll around 517,000, are we reopening too fast, especially when the World Health Organization is sounding a warning to countries reopening?
Well, okay. Thank you, Sandra, once again. I believe the opening of the international borders has to come with the realization that the COVID-19 is here to stay. I mean, regardless of what we do, we're still going to have it around. So might as well contain it and manage to deal with it than to actually, like to put our head in the sun like an ostrich and behave like it's going to go away. And it's going to take a while. And then going away, and then how we're going to solve it is also going to deal with the measures we put in place. With the right protocols in place and then the right following of the right protocols, I think everything should help us to mitigate the infection rate. Because whatever happens, is there's going to be some infection. There's no way we're going to have zero infection for some time. Yeah, so it's about mitigating the factors and making sure that we reduce the number. So we have, especially for the airports, we have the takeoff guidelines, by the International Civil Aviation Organization, and then these guidelines also interlap with the guidelines by the IATA. Okay, and then also by the regional, authorities. So more or less, it's about the same protocols that we have to follow by the airlines themselves, by the airports, authorities, and then by the individual also flying. And I think if all these protocols are followed, we should be able to have something good coming up, and then at least the numbers will be reducing eventually to gradually be able to, when the vaccine comes in, get rid of the pandemic.
Yes, we'll certainly come back to the protocols that have been introduced, but I hate to accept that COVID is here to stay. But well, back to the list of the countries that have opened up their borders, particularly the EU list. Are you surprised at any of the countries on that list? And what do you make of Ghana's exclusion from the EU list?
Well, initially I was very, taken aback, because for us in Ghana here, we believe we are doing all the right things to make sure we be in the forefront of the fight against the pandemic. But I think from the side of the EU today, looking at numbers, as much as we are doing the right thing, I think our numbers are also on the high side. And then they are, looking at the numbers, the countries, certain threshold of numbers, because most countries are actually going to open their borders, to several countries individually before they open, entirely to everybody else. But we even have, the Baltic countries, some of them opening to themselves. We have Australia and New Zealand initially open to themselves before they allow the other countries. So if you're looking at African countries, obviously the numbers that they are going to look at first. And I think Ghana, we have some high numbers. And that has to do, even though it came about because we are doing a lot more testing, but then the numbers still high. So I think they are looking at those figures to actually determine. But with time, I mean, when the cases keep coming down, the recoveries keep increasing, obviously they are going to reopen to all of us. Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, our cases are going up, and there have been talks that Ghana will surely open its borders very soon. With the cases that you're seeing and where we are now, do you think that Ghana is in the position now? EU, we are on the list. Yes, they'll review it in every 2 weeks anyway. But do you think that we are ready to reopen our borders?
Well, for us, I believe. Initially, from May 1st, we opened our domestic airports. For domestic flights. So we started, in a small way, and the way we're doing it, a small way, if we do it right, we just have to scale it up. And then if the measures we put in place, becomes acceptable to the international community, then the confidence will be there. Because right now it's about trust. Because each country is trying to protect their citizens, understand? So it's about trust. If we put the right measures in place and the trust is built, then obviously they are going to allow, the gates to be open. So it's about we just keep doing the right things, and then obviously the rest will notice, the rest of the world will notice what we're doing, and then they'll allow us to.
You mentioned the protocols, the safety protocols in place earlier. A lot of measures have been put in place now with regards to safety. Back here in Ghana, domestic airlines are taking less passengers now due to social distancing protocols. In terms of revenue, who gains and who loses? Are we going to see customers pay more, and then the airlines will have to bear the cross?
This is actually very tricky, because even before COVID came, most airlines were finding it hard to fill up, because you need your about 70% for you to be able to, at least break even on the cost of the flight. And now you are asking people to actually take off middle seats and then, further reduce the numbers. So it's going to be tough. Most airlines were actually on the brink before the pandemic came in.
Right.
And with the pandemic, most have collapsed, and then others may never come back. Others are slashing their fleet and all that. So it's going to be tough. So I think there have to be a middle way between
where we are now, where we are now, what do you see? What do you think is likely to happen? Are we going to see customers paying more, or you think that the airlines will try and then, make up for the losses? Which is the best way to go anyway?
Well, from what I said, passengers will obviously have to pay more, and then it has to be understandable because the airlines actually, the airline industry looks very profitable until you're actually in it, and then the profit margins are very, very, very minuscule. So most of them have cushioned a lot anyway, but to cushion further, I doubt. Obviously, passengers will end up paying more, and it's become understandable.
Right, so we're running out of time, but quickly, the bigger question now is what becomes of the future of the aviation industry? When are we likely to recover? And mind you, International Air Transport Association IATA estimated that revenue loss is between 63 to 113 billion dollars. So, what's the future for the industry now?
Well, for now, at present, the future looks a bit, bleak. But then there are good signs. There are good signs coming up. Passenger numbers are beginning to gradually climb up. So we're looking at probably, let's say, beginning of next year to mid next year. The numbers should come to about 70 to 80% of, pre the pandemic, and then obviously, to take a while. The hit the industry has actually taken a very, very, very hard hit, but hopefully with time, it's going to improve. Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We'd have spoken about the layoffs. Where does that leave employment now on the continent? But I want to say a big thank you, Ujo Pong, who is the CEO of Stallion Aviation. Grateful for your time this evening. Tonight on Business with me, Sandra Essen. I'm going to log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news updates. Thanks so much for watching. Stay home, stay safe, and stay beautiful.
Well, that's a great information for the aviation industry and for all of you who tend to follow that industry as well. But we have to move on because the coronavirus pandemic may have exacerbated another ailment. We're talking misinformation. And today we'll take you to the Eastern Regional Community of Domiabra, where residents believe people living in cities are the only ones at risk of contracting the dreaded coronavirus. Joynews Henry Kwesibedu visited the community and has today's episode in Combating Fake News Project.
Most of Ghana's COVID-19 cases have so far been recorded in Accra, Tema, Kumasi and other cities, perhaps due to the huge number of persons living in close proximity and the hive in economic activities. At Tomiabra in the New Abrim district of the Eastern region, a predominantly farming community, residents are milling to and fro. There's total disregard for all COVID-19 protocols. Both the young and old here don't see the need to put on face masks. They believe the virus is miles away from where they live.
That's
27-year-old Vivian Asamoah, a mother of two. She refuses to wear the face masks anytime she is in the community because she believes all persons in the community are familiar with each other.
We only
wear the face mask when traveling. We know each other here. That is the reason why we don't put on our mask when we go out.
Francis Tay is a palm wine tapper and lives here. He says he will only put on the face mask when he is traveling to Kumasi or Accra.
I can't put on a face mask when I'm in the community. It's impossible. I will only wear it when I'm traveling to the big cities because there is a high risk of contracting it there.
But misinformation could be dangerous in times of pandemics. Are people living in rural areas out of the woods? We have been speaking to Professor Alfred Yosen of the University of Ghana Medical School.
Communities that are far away from the cities, that are not close to major towns, are still not, as we will say, immune from acquiring the infection. It used to be that it started in Accra and then Kumasi, Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Obuasi, and then it went to other regions. And then we stayed around 10, 11 regions. But currently, almost every region has recorded a case, which means that the pandemic is continuing to spread into communities. And therefore, if you are in a community and you think because we are a close community, we know each other, everybody knows every other person. And therefore, when we are within this community, we are not going to wear the mask. It is not advisable to do that. So long as you are outside and you are interacting with other members of the community, you need to protect yourself.
Stay safe, protect yourself by adhering to all precautionary measures aimed at stemming the spread of COVID-19. Henry Kwesibedu's reports for Joynews.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment with me, Ori Kuamfo. Now, the Youth Unemployment Agency, YEA, has enrolled 500 people within the Elite Women's Premier League into their program for next half year. And the Ghana Football Association has announced. Now, the 500 people or the 500 players who are supposed to benefit from this would be from the 16 women's league clubs and teams in the same competition. Each player is expected to receive 500 Ghana cedis for the next 6 months. And the representative of the women's football on the GF Executive Council, Madam Habiba Ataforsin, expressed her gratitude for the initiative, saying that it is such a piece of exciting news for women's football. Now, the decision by the Ghana FA to hand the YEA package to the women's team is an incentive to promote the game in the country. Now, despite the lack of patronage for their matches, they do continue to invest in the sector. The players and other people captured to benefit from the package will be paid effective this month, July 2020. But before we do go, let's now get the latest stories from the Joy Sports Instagram account. Yesterday, we did show you some of the reactions by some football stakeholders after the GFA Executive Council's decision to cancel the Ghana Premier League. Today, we'll be looking at a further after effect on that decision by the FA as well. And this time, we take a look at Asante Kotoko and their Reds for Africa. And if you do go to the Instagram page, there is a photo slide of that asking a question whether they are Now, following the cancellation of the 2019-2020 Ghana Premier League season, the Executive Council have given Kotoko and Ashgold the nod to represent Ghana in Africa's Cup Interclubs competitions because the current season could not produce a clear winner and runner-up. Now, the decision was taken from those of the last regular season, which happened 2 years ago. But the big question remains as to whether Kotoko Osei Owusu, who is the PRO for Kotoko, says that the current state of Kotoko is not great, will be exposed by the North African teams. A player like Patrick Arthur will score only 1 goal if given the opportunity to play in 30 matches. He goes on to say it will be a disaster if Kotoko represents Ghana and Africa with this team, and this team is not in good condition for Africa or a new season. I agree with those cancelling for our withdrawal if only there will be no punishment from CAF as well. He goes on to say that the team should be well prepared, come out solid. The board should take this opportunity to appeal to Menchia to reverse the decision on the 1-year player ban. Remember that Kotoko are not supposed to sign any player, according to Menchia, at least for the next year. But you can get more such stories on our handle on Instagram at JoySportsGH, and you can also follow us on Twitter as well for more interesting stories and infographics. But that will be wrapping it up for the second part of the sports segment here on Prime. My name is Doreko Opopo, and do remember to stay safe.
Well, thank you for all those updates. For all regular updates also, you can touch base with our social media handles and pages. We have Joynews on TV. We do have a Twitter handle at Joynews on TV, and you can catch us live through Joynews TV streams on YouTube. And as you go, make sure that you subscribe through it all. Thank you for joining us for the show, and we will be here same time tomorrow with another edition of Joynews Prime. Have a great evening. Next, we do have another regular programming. Bye.